Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports radio station KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Podchaser, JioSaavn, Rumble, Tiki Live, and more. Why I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip on this show, no rumors, no K words, no Kardashians, no Kanye talk, because I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests, and there's just too many to say, because we are now on show number, I believe it is 864, 560 consecutive weeks on the air. And I am just so grateful that some of you were wrong. You said that it wouldn't last, a show that didn't have political ranting or angry things and bad news all the time, which is your regular news, which is also called a weapon of mass distraction. So instead, I have shows and topics that help you be, with tools that help you be more happy, and special series also to that end. And I'm delighted to have back again my co-host for this special series called Love, 3 words, Love, Loss, and Living. She knows loss well, Yarona Boster, from a very personal level to the professional arena. She's developed wisdom beyond her years as a result of that loss. With 15 years in the world of early childhood, Yarona became an accomplished TEDx speaker, certified speaker coach, certified life coach, parenting coach, loss trauma informed coach, infertility advocate, mentor, and coach. She takes a heart-centered approach in her coaching style. If you're willing to trust the process and stay open to finding the best version of you that you want to be, Yarona will help you get that done. Please welcome back to my studio, Yarona Boster. And good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm happy and grateful. Welcome back to the show. And you know the drill. We're gonna start every show with a gratitude sandwich for breakfast. That's what we ingest here. There's no calories, so you shouldn't have an issue with it. And it's training you to start the day in the most positive way. So you know the drill. 8 specific things that we are grateful for, and you get to start. And feel free to play along in the comments. I see eyeballs rolling in. Thank you for joining us. The link I got just in time in the link tree for the bio. Yarona's posted it as well. So if you don't go to YouTube, you've got LinkedIn and Facebook to play along with us this morning. And we're talking about making mistakes. I'll let her introduce that. But just to tease you too, I'm giving away 100 tickets today to Herman Hermits. So if you're in Southern California, stay tuned to find out how to get those tickets. All right.
I am grateful for music that speaks to my soul.
Beautiful. What's your favorite song?
The Ghost That We Knew by Mumford and Sons.
Wow. I'm going to make you sing that next time.
It's beautiful. It's just, it speaks to my soul. The words are really both a comfort and a balm, especially when I think about those that I've lost. But I really just love it because it also brings me peace.
Beautiful. I am grateful that my cataract surgery got moved up. It was not supposed to be till May, but I have a special condition. Of course, I'm so unique, called posterior subcapsular cataracts. And I didn't know this. I had both of us share the wonderful thing of needing a correction. We were talking about that. And I went from a -1 to a minus yesterday or day before was 7.5. So fast growing cataracts, not just in the front of the lens, but the back. So my doctor, after much begging, moved me up to this Thursday. So I'm grateful that in my right eye, I'm going to get to see pretty much normal, and that I'm so grateful for medical technology. So that's 2. So you get 2 now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I am really grateful for my friends and my family who know me well and know me from the mess to the best. You know, they know all of that, and they still keep coming back for more. It's awesome.
Beautiful. Bless the mess.
Do another one? Okay.
Yeah, do another one.
I am grateful for time buffers. I am learning to input time buffers in my day so that I can really feel not a sense of rush, but a sense of determination.
Fantastic. I am grateful for the sun that's shining this morning. I'm solar powered, so it always makes me smile.
Oh, I'm sort of grateful. Well, actually, I am actually. My hope is that it will snow tomorrow morning, and most people don't want to hear that. But my son hasn't seen it this winter, and he's been a little disappointed because he was hoping to see the snow.
Aww.
And so I'm hoping it'll snow, even if it makes a big mess. I'm grateful for that.
How old is he now?
He's 5. He's 5.
Oh, it's a great
and we love
age.
playing in the snow. So
Yeah, beautiful. I am grateful that I am going to be on TV again, this time on Game Show Network, February 2nd. I am a contestant on the new game show called Switch, and it's a trivia game. And I can't tell you what happened, so you'll have to tune in 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on Game Show Network. You'll see me on Switch.
Woohoo! I'm grateful for the chance to possibly watch that.
Yay! Last gratitude. I am grateful to know that even when it's not sunny here, the sun is always shining somewhere.
Indeed.
All right. And that is the top of the bun. Gratitude. The bottom of the bun is appreciation. What do you appreciate about yourself? And why is that important, Yarona?
I appreciate my willingness to be messy and dig into the mess.
I appreciate my ability to forgive myself. That was not always true. So appreciation is important because if we can't approve of ourselves, how the fork do we expect other people to approve of ourselves? And self-care and mental health, healthy mental, all for me starts with your ability to approve and soothe and care for yourself.
For sure. I very deeply appreciate when I'm able to openly recognize what I need to spend my time on and with, and walk away from the distractions.
I appreciate the discipline that I've had since Valentine's Day this last year, to drop the unnecessary weight that I have put on these however many years. And I'm now at 34. So I know, I think my goal by Valentine's would be 35 because 5 + 3 = 8. 8's a lucky number. 8. Yeah.
Okay. So 35 by Valentine's. That would be great. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate my diligent note taking. I know it seems silly, but sometimes it's really the moments that spark something new and interesting and intriguing that I want to investigate further.
I appreciate my creative mind. I love that feeling of, making something up, not going to MSU University, making shiitake up, bad stuff, but actually creating something. And today I get to work with a past guest that you saw, Caldwell Williams, whose grandparents were born slaves and his parents were born free. He was one of the first Black graduates of UCLA, couldn't get a job. This is back in the age of, McCarthyism and things like that. So he is brilliant, and he's aging, and his days are somewhat numbered. And so I'm putting a film together. This is a little project. So we're doing the taping today. And I'm so excited because I want to be able to help in him leaving his legacy. He's got so much wisdom about why we are prejudiced, why we discriminate, why veterans come home, hurt, why teens do suicide. So we're going to film that today. I'm so appreciative that I have the bandwidth to make films, something I never thought I would do.
Beautiful.
Yay.
I think we did it. Did we do it?
Did we do it? We did.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for having breakfast with us. And this is actually Yarona's last weekly show. And so this is a very special, she'll still be here the last Tuesday of every month. But this is a sort of a milestone. Loved having you on a weekly basis. And we're going to move to monthly because she's working on a book.
Working on a book, working on a podcast, working on some new workshops and seminars and a whole slew of things that I need to direct my focus to. So I love being here.
Practice is what she teaches.
Yes.
Unlike me.
It's not easy. I would never say it's easy. I think practicing anything brings us right into our subject matter today. Because the thing about mistakes is that if we can't learn from them, we are doomed to repeat them. And so if you practice, you have a greater opportunity to continue to learn from those things, including the mistakes you've made. So if you find yourself sliding back into something that you don't feel is optimal for your growth, that's a mistake. If you can acknowledge it as a mistake, it wasn't intentional to slide back, then you can focus your intention to keep moving forward. And the same is true in our parenting skills, in the relationships we develop with other people. We spend so much time actually propping our mistakes up and giving them excuses. But the truth is, mistakes are always these unintended consequences of our actions. If we're willing to own our mistakes and try to learn from them and not get defensive and prop our mistakes up in the face of somebody else noticing and openly letting us know about our mistakes, rather than seeing that as criticism, see that as an opportunity to make a change. And that's what today is all about.
Spumoni. So I am not a fan of mistakes. I don't like apologizing. So I don't even call them mistakes. I call them missed takes. So, take one, take two. Yeah. In movies or when a kid falls off the bike when he's learning how to ride a bike, you don't go, "You stupid idiot." You get up and you say, "That's good. Let's try again." Although I have some trauma around, my first house that I remember as a child was in Kitchener, Ontario, and we lived on the top of a cul-de-sac. And I can remember, on that bike and losing control going down the little incline or decline and crashing into a rose bush. So, that was trauma, but I got up and tried again. And it was Gordon the Guided Missile. I don't even know who did this thing about Gordon. How did he get to his destination? He would fly and he'd say, am I on track? And they say, a little to the left. Correct. How am I doing now? A little to the right. And then correct. And then that's life. We cannot get to where we want to go unless we miss that take.
Yeah.
We will never know how we're doing unless we make the mistake. So for me, that with Gordon the Guided Missile was a great teacher.
That's beautiful. And I'll tell you something about Gordon. Imagine though, if he didn't ask, how am I doing? And they didn't tell him a little to the left, or, you're off course. Or if he asked how he was doing and he expected them to say, you're perfect, and they told him a little to the left, and he decided to just quit and go home. This is the problem with mistakes. We get very nervous about them. And that's often stems from having had perhaps a childhood where parents made us feel bad for mistakes we made. Let's say we broke a toy, right? It wasn't intentional. We didn't intend to break that toy, but our parents like, oh, how could you do that? That was terrible. Why did you do that thing? It was a mistake. So without judgment, if you come in as a parent and you say, oh, I see you broke your toy. That must feel, how's that feel? And, ask the child, oh, that feels terrible. Oh yeah, I know. I've been there before. I've made that mistake. I've broken things. I've damaged stuff. and you allow yourself to meet them in empathy and understanding of that mistake rather than making them feel bad for it. That replicates itself. And then they're more willing to own that mistake when they make it. We have a society of children who are struggling because they are geared towards trying to engage in so many activities, after school things, this and that and the other, and perfect their grades and perfect this and perfect that. We have this objective of perfectionism when the truth is you don't have to be perfect to be amazing. You just have to be real. You just have to be yourself. And you have to be allowed to make those mistakes and for other people to not make you feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I see this happening in relationships all the time, right? Let's say my husband forgot to unload the dryer. Okay. If I made him feel bad about that, if I said to him, oh God, you forgot, he's going to get his defenses up and he's going to be like, oh no, I don't want to unload the dryer. And I had other things too. And I forgot because you didn't remind me, or I forgot because I had X, Y, and Z that was going on, and da, 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 da. Let's say you're a boss and somebody brings you a report and there's something missing from that report. Do you make them feel bad because they made the mistake of not putting in there that important information? Or do you say, oh, this is a wonderful report. Unfortunately, I see that XYZ is missing. Could you just go ahead and fix that? Not like, oh, you forgot to put this in there. I can't believe it. This is the third time you've done that same mistake. But it's a mistake. It wasn't intentional. If you press on people for the unintended consequences of their actions, you will make them defend those unintended consequences until they become intentional consequences.
Okay. But I'm going to put the moose on the table here because I do not want a pilot to make an unintentional error while he's flying the plane. I do not want kids to be not understand that there's consequences to continuous unintentional mistakes, because I think that that's one of the issues or opportunities we have, in that when you go to the extreme and you are always, I'm an organizational psychologist and I work with individuals who have, we're not talking about mistakes to spelling rabbit with 3 M's. That is unintentional, but at some point you have to begin to say, you want to start a land war in Asia, like that is not the brightest crayon in the box. Or you continue to, and I've been nice about it, and you hit the wrong button again and over and over and over. And yes, that person will be defensive, but at some point, there has to be an understanding of consequences. You can unintentionally do anything in life and make that mistake, but if you take it to the extreme, you never learn that there is an easier way, and that there is a relationship in at work. How do you get things done? You have to have a good enough relationship with that person to balance out feedback. Yes. That I wouldn't say that's a wonderful report, because it isn't a wonderful report. It has errors in it. So I would say, great try. Let's look at these numbers, and this will cost us 3 days. And I know that the next time you do this, it's going to be less. So thank you for that finger. Somebody just gave me a finger, a thumbs up.
That is definitely a good point. And I want to address that, because I look at it in steps. Processes have to come in steps, right? If we first take the burden of making someone feel bad for the mistake they made off the table, we don't make them feel bad for the mistake. And then we talk about the natural consequences something like that can have in the next steps, in the next stages. It's all about steps, processes to it, right? Pieces. When I talk about it with children, one of the most important things is, okay, if my son didn't mean to break his toy, if it wasn't intentional, well, now I surface the learning. Unfortunately, the natural consequence of, and you could say this a lot more in a parental, easier, simplified language, but Connor, I'm so sorry. It's terrible that you broke your toy. No, you're not going to get to play with it anymore. So maybe next time you work harder on trying to be more careful with that toy next time, or a different toy. It's simplified, right? Not exactly in those words, but the fact is that, yes, you have to allow them to understand, here are the natural consequences, because again, mistakes that are continuously replicated are no longer mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
They are learned habitual errors.
Patterns and
patterns, etc.
Yeah.
So that's different, but that's the next step in the tool. But what I see is usually people get so defensive because somebody comes at them, making them feel bad for their mistake. And then they get defensive. Once you start to defend that mistake, you are doomed to repeat it, because now you've set a precedent. You're like, oh, well, you're making me feel bad. I'm just going to keep going with this. And that's when it becomes a habitual pattern.
Yeah.
So to break that pattern, you have to first start with not making someone feel bad, so that they can take full ownership of the mistake, and then help them recognize what they could do better. And then that gives them growth and learning opportunities.
Yeah. And I believe that this is, I didn't always believe this, and this is a part of my discipline now. In the last probably 8 years, I've been practicing the law of attraction very strongly. And that's why my life is, I think, so amazing, is because I know that no one can make me feel bad. And that's I can't make people feel bad, and you can't make me feel bad. You can say what you want to say and do what you want to do, and I can have a reaction to that, but I own my reaction. So it is my job to look at how you're reacting and then say, okay, how does that impact me? But I don't to take that out of our vocabulary. I don't think it's going to happen in our generation, but maybe in 2 generations. So people don't look like, that's balance. It's all about balance. We think that others can make us feel a certain way. The reality is no one can control. And I think parenting, we I'm sure I tried with my kids not to say as much as what my mother would say to me is, you make me so mad. If you didn't do this, I wouldn't be so mad. Or if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be so aggravated. And it's like, okay, no, you can do whatever you want. but it has consequences, taking that energy out of there. And I have a decision on how I want to react with that. So that
Yes.
teaches the child to own also their own reaction. So
Yeah.
you have a choice, like your son. Yeah, I'd be sad if I broke my toy. I'd be mad at myself a little that I broke my own toy, but I didn't do it on purpose. I know you didn't do it on purpose. And
Right.
sometimes, shift happens. Now, I have a choice now to be continuously mad for the rest of the day and beg me for money to buy another toy. Or I could say, wow, I've got like a plethora. Well, maybe not plethora at 5, but vocabulary. But look at all the other toys I have. Wow, now I can play with a toy that I haven't played with for a long time. So
Yes.
redirect and
Yes.
owning,
Very
because
important.
I believe we have raised in the imbalance going from dictatorial, my way or the highway parenting to
Yep.
anything goes because I don't want you to feel bad,
Yeah,
has
no.
created these kids who have no ownership of
Yes.
their actions and reactions, and or codependency, which I had. Many kids who have had childhood trauma, they say sorry for everything. And
Yeah.
and it's like, you
Yeah.
step on my toe and I say sorry. Like, what's up with that? But we're
Right. Yeah.
so
Oh,
used to saying sorry that it doesn't even mean anything. And then we
right.
continue to make those mistakes
Yeah.
because it doesn't mean anything. I keep doing the
Right.
same thing again and again and again because I have no ownership of that. So
That's why that is exactly why making the consequences clear, natural consequences are really important. You're absolutely right. The permissive parenting style is so detrimental to our children's growth as well. We're so fearful of making them feel as bad as we felt when we were kids that we try not to make them feel bad for anything. But it's not about not making them feel bad. It's about helping them recognize and accept the natural consequences of their actions or their inactions, right? We're not going to go out and replace that toy. We're going to say, unfortunately, it's broken now. But what else could you do? We can't get that toy back. If a parent chooses to then rush out and get a new toy because that child broke it, they are not allowing their child to process the mistake that they made
yeah,
and move forward with that, right? If a parent
exactly.
buys a child's way into a college, they're not allowing their child to, persevere, to fail on their own or to fail forward and learn and keep going forward with it. And here's the thing, because I look at everything from a child rearing perspective, I always look at the start of the alphabet, the ABCs going forward, right? As adults, we can look backward and we can own what you were saying before. We can own how something is making us feel. Absolutely. But we have to teach that to our children. That is social emotional development. That is not an innate trait. That is not something that's innate. It's something that's learned. It is one of the core components to the 5 developmental areas. But so many parents fail to help their child develop that social emotional learning. We talk about social emotional intelligence. It starts from the learning.
Mhm.
It cannot be known automatically. It needs to be learned.
So
So
give
the
me an
true,
example
sure.
of how a parent would do that.
Yeah. So exactly this. Let's say my son was enthusiastically jumping up and down and he was so excited about something that he smashed into me and he hurt me, right? If I, as the parent, chose in that moment to yell at him, "You hurt me, Connor. That really hurt." Oh, and I'm making him feel bad now for an accident, right? Now he's going to get defensive. He's going to be like, "I didn't mean to." And then as a parent, I can make a choice there. Well, if I chose instead to respond, "Ooh, that hurt. Ouch." And he said, "I'm sorry." And I said, "Well, what, you know, you're jumping up and down while wonderful and enthusiastic hurt me. So what could you do differently next time?" "Oh, I could run over and give you a great big hug. I could ask for a high five. I could do, now I'm surfacing the learning. What could he do instead of that to not make that same mistake again and unintentionally hurt me?"
Mhm.
And that gives him an opportunity to learn from that and grow. And as you continue on that path, those mistakes will be repeated over and over and over again. Think about it from the light bulb perspective, right? It took how many tries for Edison to create the light bulb, making
Mhm.
all of those repeated mistakes until he finally got it right. But he kept revising and changing. He didn't do the exact same thing over and over again in a hope for something different.
Mhm.
He made tweaks and refinements.
Mhm.
That is what we are essentially doing as parents, helping our children learn how to tweak and refine their interactions. So with social emotional learning, let's say you have a friend, you meet people, you don't know, are they going to want a hug? Are they going to want a high five? Are they going to want a wave? You don't know. You need to ask. And then you get what is the appropriate plan of action with that friend. Maybe this is a friend who loves to hug. Awesome. Give them a hug. Maybe this is a friend who likes to high five. Wonderful. Give them a high five. Now you're developing in your child empathy, the ability to learn what other people want for themselves. And when you learn empathy, you build social emotional intelligence. You build the ability of the awareness of others' needs, and you strengthen your ability to tell others what you need in turn.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm just putting our topic down in case
Yeah,
anybody wants to come and play with us.
absolutely.
So I want to I want to welcome anyone whose eyeballs just rolled in. You are witnessing another show in our special series called Love, Loss, and Living. My co host is Yarona Boster. She is a certified everything. And she's also a mom of a 5-year-old. I have a 25 and 23-year-old beautiful daughters inside and out. And we're talking about, parenting, doing a little better than our parents did, and the importance of social emotional feedback and coaching for our own kids so they understand the importance of interpersonal effectiveness is the topic that I usually or the umbrella that I put that under when I am working with my executives and my managers as an organizational psychologist. And the one concept that I wanted to introduce in terms of, uh, even adults who have not had that ideal parenting, the only emotions they know are anger and depression, maybe from growing up. And that is the whole concept of intent and impact.
Right.
So, Yarona has spoken a few times about unintentional, unintentional hurt, or I didn't mean to break that toy. I didn't mean to hurt my mom. I didn't mean to, and unintentional. And if you are an American listening to this, our society has been so forgiving. As long as your intention is good, if you mean well, that's all that's important. And that has led to a lot of unintended negative impact.
Yes.
So uh, my best example is I was working on the East Coast for my internship from grad school, and I had a leader say to me, Marissa, you're so strong and you're so decisive. Sometimes I forget you're not a man. That was exactly my reaction, and I kind of looked down and I go, thanks. I think now this was a while ago. I'm ageless, but was a while ago when stuff like that. What was his intention?
His intention was probably to compliment you. That wasn't
The
a compliment.
impact was less than that. So
Yeah.
we're learning as a society. Look at our past president. Look at our Weinstein. all of the unintentional, well, I was just paying you a compliment, or I was just expressing my, desire. I was just, all of those things that had no consequences before. Thank goodness we're getting to that place where there are consequences. But I
Yeah.
believe that that is one of the things that we can get better at teaching
Oh, yeah.
in the social
Absolutely.
emotional, when you
Yes.
have kids that you are watching doing things that they don't mean to, and even kids who are very blunt, right?
Yep.
And you
Yep.
love kids that just say, oh mom, look at them, look at their skin is black, they've never
Right.
seen, and like nervous laughter. So how do you talk about that?
Yeah. You've got to talk about that. You've got to address that. You've got to do it. There are a lot of amazing books that help you simplify the explanation in those hard moments, but you do have to address it 100%. You have to make them crystal clear, aware of the unintended consequence of making comments that could be construed as insensitive, unaware, uneducated, whatever it may be. Because if you don't, then you're as complicit as somebody else who's intending to do that. So
Mhm.
we are constantly course correcting with my son to ensure that he is aware. I don't love I don't love genderizing things, like, oh, he should love this because he's a boy, or, like that sometimes happens with other relatives and whatnot and older generations. I try very hard to be extremely cognizant of that. And, some when we're playing, we play with, we pretend that two characters are boys and they love each other, girls and they love each other, non-girl, whatever, they're just animals, they love each other, whatever it may be, to ensure that that's all, and we read a lot of books. Todd Parr is an amazing author of early child books to helping your children recognize that families are made up of many different colors, people, different parents, different this, different that. So beautiful. So beautiful. His
Mhm.
books are amazing with that. And, you brought in a really important topic because this is about the adults now. I agree wholeheartedly with you because we've gotten to that point of just bypassing things for people's intentions. But here's the distinct difference, and something I said before, so it definitely bears repeating. Mistakes are only mistakes when they are truly unintentional. But once they become habitual, you can no longer call them mistakes. So if you're habitually saying, like, oh, that was so good for a woman, that was X, Y, and Z for, where you came from, da, 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 da. Now you're like, nailing the coffin in, you're standing on that continued mistakes. And the only way we can correct that is for people to stand up to something like that and to kindly but firmly call that out.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have
Because
to.
what you permit, you promote. And if we're going to
Yes.
get to a world where people are, everybody wants respect, but the way we're defining respect is so different. And, as a valuing diversity consultant and coach, it's amazing to me that people are so angry when they are corrected. you,
Because we're so
you know,
defensive. We're so defensive.
yeah, and it's that then they turn around and say, "Well, give me the Bible then of what terms I can use and what terms I shouldn't use." And it's like, well, then you're missing the point, because then all you want to do is be right. And that's not going that, that gets communicated. You might as well use the wrong term, because people see right through that. We're not going to have a Bible. It changes all the time. The bottom line is, if you truly want to respect, and that is your intention, wouldn't it be nice to know that your impact is actually respect? And the only way you're going to know that is if you're watching the reaction. If you say you're Oriental to me, I will have a reaction that says, like that. Okay. I may not
Right.
say anything. And then if I really intend respect, I'll say, ooh, was that, did I just step in it? Or did I use a term that's no longer appropriate?
Yes.
And when I say that, then I know that that person, it doesn't matter what they said. because
Right.
they really have the intention and care about the impact they have on you or me. And that's the most important thing. That's what's going to get us to a point where if kids understand that being wrong is not that big of a deal, Gordon the guided missile, when you have been called out on something, you have a choice. You can either, oh, you're making me feel bad, or I didn't know if it was that important, you should have told me. That reaction, which I see all over the place, is from people who have been raised to think that being right is the most important thing, that relationships really don't matter. The number one thing is, I'm right. I'm the winner. I'm on top. I know the answers. And that is going to get you in trouble.
Yes. And I want to address this because this is so, so important as a parent. So there's one other really important component to this. That means you have to own your mistakes with your children. We make mistakes all the time. We're humans, right? So we make mistakes all the time. And I think I once told you this story, but one day, this was like last year, Connor was 4. It was a snowy day. School got delayed opening. I was freaking out because I had a doctor's appointment and so much booked in my day, and thought my mother-in-law would be able to help us, but she couldn't. So I had to rush back. I had to get him set and ready and walked him to school. Now we're walking along the path and there's snow everywhere. What does a 4-year-old want to do with snow? He wants to play in it. But me, I'm thinking, we got to get to school. We got to get to school in time. Okay, it's open. Come on, Connor, let's go. Let's go. And I'm rushing him along, and he stumbled a little and he went on his knees in the snow. And I felt so bad in that moment. But I kind of like picked him up. I'm like, oh, you're okay. You're okay. All right, let's keep going. Keep going. We got into school. He was fine. It was, I went on with my messed up day, but I was thinking about that situation all day long. And when I picked him up from school, I said, Connor, I have to tell you something. I am so sorry for what happened this morning. I shouldn't have rushed you along. I should have said to you, I see that you love the snow. You're enjoying the snow, but now is not the time to do that. Now is the time to get to school, and we will play in the snow later. But I didn't do that. And, I rushed you along and you slipped and you fell on your knees, and I feel really bad about that. Do you forgive me? And his little cute voice from the back seat, he goes, because, I sat there in my car with him for a minute and said this to him. And he said, Mommy, I accept your apology. And here's what happened in that moment. Here's me as the parent and him as the child. This is what happened. We equalized. We shared a mutual respect for each other. I acknowledged my wrongdoing, and he gave me the allowance to do so and accepted that. And then we can move forward from there. One of the key components to being a child and a parent is the automatic polar component to this larger than life person who's caring for you. As an infant, you're helpless. All your needs are being met by somebody else. As a result, there is this dynamic that is extremely unbalanced that is created in that moment. And the infant sees this person caring for them as larger than life, godlike, if you will, right? Just something bigger than them. As a result, the parent feels this automatic, you should respect me. I'm caring for your needs. I'm taking care of you, and you should give me your respect. And in that moment, we also forget that the person we created deserves just as much respect. And the way we counterbalance that is by shifting the narrative and rehumanizing ourselves to our children, by showing them our mistakes, by showing them our growth, by surfacing the learning everywhere we can. I made a mistake here. I could have done this a little bit differently, and so on and so forth. Not about perfectionism, not self-criticizing, nothing like that, but just those opportunities to learn. I need to try better this time. Oh, I burnt the food. I'm going to try better next time, not to burn the food. Not making ourselves feel bad to them, but showing where we can go wrong and where we can do better. And here's the thing, and I want to get real serious about this because this is a thing that happens for children who are abused. They don't call out their abusers because if their abusers are their family members or someone they trust, someone who's been caring for them, they don't see the wrong in that because they've been taught that this is what you get from me and you should accept that for what it is. So creating that awareness creates a greater sense of understanding that this is not how a human should be treated. And I am human, and therefore I deserve to be treated with basic human respect.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to help those people who are dismantling that ability to humanize ourselves on all playing fields. Children are just little humans. Teenagers, they're just young humans, young adults, and so on and so forth. We're all in the same boat here. And we need to mutually respect that and our positions in that boat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The tendency to beat ourselves up for making mistakes gets translated into beating other people up for making mistakes. So there's this great saying, I believe it's an African American saying. It says, when there is no enemy within, no one outside can hurt us. Let me say that again. When there is no enemy within, internal critic, you shouldn't have done that, you know that, you stupid, then you do that, then no one outside can hurt you. So the work starts here. If you are one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma, most likely you have a very strong perfectionistic tendency, because as you mentioned before, you were rewarded or loved only when you were perfect. I can remember my mom wanting to make her happy as a kid, doing all the things in the kitchen that I thought she would like, calling her down and saying, look what I have done, wipe down the fridge, clean the dish, to wash the dishes. And she looked around and said, you didn't push in the chairs, and walked back up. So the worst thing we can do to our children is the worst thing that we can do to ourselves, is trying to be perfect all the time. It took me decades to let go of that desire or fantasy that one day I will be perfect and therefore would finally feel the approval and love that I've been looking for all my life, which I'm so grateful that I figured that out was a stupid BS belief system that would have drove the rest of my life into the same dis-ease of living as it did the first half of my life. So I'm so grateful that I got that. I hope that you got that. If you are a recovering perfectionist, or if you're a perfectionist, my desire is for you to be a recovering perfectionist and a recovering control freak. That goes hand in hand, control freak and perfectionism. And if you're miserable and exhausted, most likely your perfectionist has been driving your life car. So my happiness challenge to you today is, I have 2 words for you. If you have that voice, if you keep trying to be perfect, if you're, embarrassed about your mistakes, if you can't look at yourself after a recording on Zoom because you're so self-critical, if you have, these unattainable goals and every time you're just beating yourself up, and if you get 99 compliments and 1 insult, right? Or you make 1 mistake, but you do 99 good things, but you're focused on that mistake. I got 2 words for you. Ready? Look at me in the eye. Stop it.
I love that. I have to tell you, the greatest thing my mother ever did for me before she died, and she did this years before she died, but the greatest thing she ever did for me and for our relationship was apologizing. I still remember it so vividly. We were in the car ride one day, and we were both adults at this point, and we were driving along, and we were having an honest, open conversation about my childhood and all the ways she, emotionally, she was very emotionally abusive. And that's what her parents were to her. And I knew that. My father told me that when I was a young teen, when they were getting divorced, he opened up to me and told me that her parents had been horrible to her. And she was an only child, and it was very isolating. So she didn't know any different. But one of the things I knew growing up, she never apologized. Never apologized.
Sure, we don't have the same mom.
Yeah. Right. And so we were in this car and we're driving along, and we were just talking about childhood and, especially the teenagers, because teenagers with girls and their moms. Whew. But we had this moment, and I just sincerely was telling her, I wasn't trying to blame her. I wasn't trying to criticize her. I wasn't trying to be mean to her or make her feel bad. I was just telling her how I felt about it.
Mm.
And in that moment, she didn't make excuses for herself. She didn't say anything other than, I am so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this dam just cracked and just started to tumble down. And I was like, I could breathe again in that moment. And I could realize that she was human and she was following a pattern of, that pattern of trauma and abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I could accept her for truly who she was, a flawed human being
Beautiful.
who wasn't perfect, but had some amazing qualities that I treasure to this day.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I had a similar thing finding out, my mom has Parkinson's and she's now in palliative stage, but she shared a story that her mom told her that she wished she had aborted her. And that started her on this path of, self-loathing, trying to make herself feel better, and then learning the abuse from her mom inflicted on me because she didn't know any better. And that was just a pattern. And so if you hate your mom or hate your dad, and you have if they've done horrible things, and it's not a competition, but if you get my 8 Ways to Happiness from wherever you are, I'm pretty honest about the things that happened to me, and giving away one Asian Oprah giveaway of the audio. Just go to drmarissa.life and put in pain in the subject line, because it's so important. And you can join me last Friday of the month, which I believe is this Friday, on my free Get Happy Hour session on Zoom. Just go to drmarissa.life. But if you are in that place where you just hate, your parents because of what they did, there's work to be done, because you don't have to condone what happened, but you do not have to continue to live and stew and replicate that hate. Because even if you say, I don't want to be like my parents, you will be like your parents. You can't help yourself. They were your role model. You have their DNA. So forgive yourself of that and do the healing work. Yarona coaches as well. You can find her at
footprintscoaching.org.
Thank you.
Yes. And I work a lot with parents who are trying to find that road. Actually, I will tell you this. What I've found is that perfection is in the mistakes we make.
Yeah.
When we learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're to the end of the hour. I do need to make a quick announcement here for my sponsor for the day. It is Saban Theater. You know them as the wonderful organization that gives me free tickets. We're offering 100 free Herman's Hermit starting Peter Noon. It's classic rock if you're into that. Look at all the rest I have tickets for Paul Anka as well. I'll be giving next week. We have World Ballet. We have Nora. We have Eric Johnson, Neil Sedaka. So many beautiful Gordon Lightfoot. I think I'm getting those tickets to give away. You can tell the ones that I love. So please do go to Saban Theater, and it's where musicmeetsthesoul.com to find great artists that you can support and have an amazing time. And that's it for today's show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Yarona, for coming on again and sharing your expertise in parenting. Hopefully you have learned something. Join us. The next show of our series will be
end of February, the last Wednesday of February. Last Wednesday of February.
Wonderful. So last Tuesday in February. Wednesday? Or is it Wednesday? Did we decide Wednesday? Okay.
Yeah.
Last Wednesday.
Apologies.
I gotta go change that.
We're working that out.
All right. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through, inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. And forgive yourself. Bye.